It occurs to me at this point that I don't have a Wonder Woman shirt. I've got a Batman, I got a Superman, I got a Flash. Pretty sure I even have an Aquaman somewhere around here, but yeah, I don't have a Wonder Woman. I should change that. I can't right now. I mean, I have no money. Christmas is over, so, hindsight is 2020. Hello and welcome back to another movie review. As always, I'm Kelly, and I just got out of Wonder Woman 1984. Sort of. That statement is a little ironic now, isn't it? After all, who actually went to this movie in theaters? It was streaming on HBO Max, and it's pretty much the only reason anyone's getting an HBO Max subscription / doing their trial run right now is to watch this movie. And every other movie they're releasing this year, assuming that Warner Bros. Doesn't get sued into non-existence. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Right now, we have to cross this bridge, which is Wonder Woman. And yes, this review is late. Mostly because the discussion around this movie devolved very, very, very quickly. And this is actually a very, very controversial movie. And I don't think it deserves to be. Now, I've said this in the past in other videos, and honestly, in the other videos that I mentioned, since I didn't say it very well, and I apologize, it should have been a little bit more clear and a lot less, combative with it. However, people seem to think that DC films need to be on a much higher plane of existence than the regular lot of films. We saw it with Batman v Superman, we saw it with Justice League, we saw it with Suicide Squad. There just seems to be a subset of people that think that if the movie isn't perfect, groundbreaking, amazing, essentially either of those two, then it's the worst piece of garbage they've ever seen in their life, and we should all be ashamed for even admitting that there was something good in it at all. Seriously, how many people put Suicide Squad on their worst movies of the year list? And how many of those people even went around and said it's one of the worst movies of the decade? Seriously, that's nowhere near as bad as people made it out to be. And same with Batman v Superman. Pretty much the only two films that have escaped this kind of weird reviewer dichotomy thing that's been going on are Aquaman and Shazam, and mostly because, well, Joker was on the horizon. No one really gave a crap about the other two films. And to swing this back into the discussion about Wonder Woman 1984, the reason you clicked on this video, and from my point of view, just looking at all the discussions and reading the hot takes, it feels like that small subset but vocal group of people have kind of hijacked this entire discussion and aren't really looking at the movie at all. They're more of looking at what they think the movie should be rather than what it is. So my personal opinion on the scale of, is this Wonder Woman 2017 versus another Captain Marvel-esque corporate cash grab that we're all supposed to think is amazing? Unfortunately, I feel this lands almost directly in the middle between the two. This movie has problems, not the least of which are some of the implications of things that didn't really think about on the writing table. But more importantly, just structurally, this movie feels very off. It feels like it's too long. It feels like there's one or two plot lines too many crammed into this movie. In that regard, it feels more like the Batman v Superman, first edition cut we got in theaters versus, the ultimate cut that, lengthened the movie and gave everything time to breathe. It feels like the original cut where it just feels like we're missing certain things in certain plot lines. It's nothing that's really movie-breaking that we're missing, but it feels like we're just missing that tiny bits of context here and there that could have made it make more sense, but probably would have been better if they just cut that entire plot line out of the movie because it didn't serve much purpose. And in a way, this movie does feel like it has the exact opposite problem that, well, Wonder Woman 2017 had, whereas the first two acts were amazing, groundbreaking, awesome, with a big, great header, and then we had the one kind of lackluster third act with Ares that wasn't exactly great. This film, I feel the first half of it is really slow, meandering, doesn't really go anywhere, but the last part of it, just right in your face, everything's on point there. It's just the first half you gotta deal with. And I will admit that I saw this both on the small screen and the big screen, and I can tell you that this movie plays a lot better on the big screen than on the small one. This was a spectacle event that really got relegated to TVs because of circumstances out of its control. And unfortunately, on the small screen, it doesn't really have the same impact as it does on the big screen. And I will say that while some of the writing is not on point, the stuff that is on point, that is really worked out and really well done, works really good. And it feels like they just need like one or two more rewrites before they went to shooting to make this movie, well, honestly, pretty much on the same level as the first Wonder Woman. But at this point, I'm pretty much dancing around the spoilers, which we have to talk about, especially the implications of certain things that happen in this movie, because they are not things that we can ignore. So with all that said, if you don't want any spoilers and you just want my rating, skip to this point so you can get that for you. For the rest of us, let's talk about this in more detail. And as always, starting with the good, the first thing you're going to notice is that pretty much acting is on point from everybody. Nobody is doing a bad job, but especially acting on point from Chris Pine, who is pretty much doing the fish out of water stuff here, but it's not that he's, jumping into a world he's never seen before, but more if he's just jumping that time travel ahead, seeing the progression of man with wide-eyed wonder and just enjoying how things have changed and how things have improved and all of that jazz. His performance is genuinely just infectious when he's looking at simple things that we take for granted, like an escalator, or a subway train, or hell, fireworks. He is genuinely just enthralled, and you get sucked into this performance. And on top of that, Chris Pine has great chemistry with Gal Gadot in this movie, and I am so glad I was proven wrong about Gal Gadot being Wonder Woman, because she is just legitimately perfect for this role. And it sucks that I was really, really looking forward to seeing her performance inside of Murder on the Nile back in October, but that's been postponed indefinitely. I don't even think it has a date yet. And another thing I'll say is good inside this movie is that it is genuinely fun. It doesn't take itself seriously all of the time, and it just likes poking fun at itself, as well as just the 80s in general, because this movie is made to be an homage to the 80s. Right down to the campiness of a lot of the things that happen inside of it. The opening fight scene inside of this movie, inside of the mall that you see inside of the trailers and whatnot, it is genuinely something straight out of the Linda Carter days of Wonder Woman. It's just fun, it's over the top, there's a lot of wire works, which admittedly in the modern sense might look a little jarring to people, but screw it. I love Power Rangers, I love seeing people go flying when they get hit. But it's not just like the wire works or the campy action scenes that are all callbacks to the 80s. The plot lines themselves that happen in the movie are themselves callbacks to 80s films. The body swapping with Chris Pine, the wish-granting device that does the little monkey's paw trick, the nerd who gets power, gets drunk on power, and becomes the supervillain. All of these are pretty much old-school plot lines that you would see from essentially a Linda Carter days era Wonder Woman movie. Or just 80s films in general. I mean, we've had a lot of Wishmaster movies, I'm just saying. Honestly, we've had a lot of those in the modern age too, but that leads into a problem I'll talk about later. But it's easy to see what they were trying to do with this film. The whole movie is an homage to the 80s. And when it works very, very well. We might as well not dance around it though, because it doesn't always work, so let's start talking about the bad. These plot lines have been done before, yet the movie is acting like they've never been done before. The magical MacGuffin that grants wishes but takes something away or has some cursed monkey paw element to it. I mean, even Steve Trevor in the movie is referencing the monkey's paw, and he's from the 1940s. I think we've done this story before. Granted, we've not done it to the scale of this movie, and again, that's why in the second half this works very well, that when everyone's making wishes and just conflicting with each other, it's really fucking over the entire world. However, when it's starting off and they're still trying to decipher the mystery, you're just sitting there with your popcorn like, I've seen this before, can we please speed it up and move on? The movie treats this plot lines like it's the first one to ever do them, yet even in universe, it's not the first thing that's ever done it before. Again, the monkey's paw is a great example, but we can talk about the nerd that becomes drunk on her own power and becomes Cheetah. I surprisingly actually like Kristen Wiig inside this movie, because when she's going through the motions of getting her powers and things, and actually getting praise from everybody because her wish to become like Diana was coming with all the strange new benefits and things, it really does work. Right up until the very end when she goes full evil into Cheetah mode, because it comes really out of left field. It feels like we skipped a couple steps, even though we've gone through the entire motions. The second that Christian Wade gets on the helicopter and starts wishing to be an apex predator, you're just like, okay, but why though? And it's not helped by the fact that that cheetah makeup that she ends up going into is legitimately bad. I know I'm not the first to make this joke, but I might as well say it. I'm wondering why there's a Cats reject in the middle of my movie. I'm genuinely just sitting there wondering in my head while Cheetah's fighting Wonder Woman at the end, wondering, is she a Jellicle cat? Because a Jellicle cat is the only cat there is. It just looks so bad. And on top of that, this movie does the exact same trick you've seen in every single movie with a big CGI character like this that always try to do. They set the fight at dusk so you can barely see it, and they blend the CGI with the background. On the small screen, though, it is still very noticeable how bad this CGI is. Admittedly, on the big screen, it's a little bit harder to notice. But it still feels like it comes right out of nowhere, because she was still human for the entire movie. We didn't see her developing these, cat-like personas. We didn't see like a Catwoman-esque transformation where she starts acting like a cat, which probably would have worked a lot better in this context if this was kind of what the witch was doing to her and Maxwell Lord just accelerated it by the end. Oh, and then we get to Maxwell Lord, or should I say, not Maxwell Lord, because this is another one of those cases of a character in name only. Yes, I did get the cute little reference that he's using satellites to basically control people at the very end. That doesn't make those satellites Brother Eye, and it makes it really stupid because radio waves coming from satellites somehow equals touching, even though that's kind of how your whole wish thing works, is that you have to be in direct contact with them while they're making their wish. And I don't want to get so angry that I sound like I hate this, because I actually really do like the idea that not Maxwell Lord is going through. A con man who legitimately was trying to build a business, but it's falling out from underneath him. He seeks out magical aid in that regard and starts getting what he wants, only to find out that he's basically screwing over the rest of his life. That storyline is good, but it's not Maxwell Lord. It is really sad that the CW's version of Maxwell Lord inside of the goddamn Supergirl show is more faithful and accurate than most of these other adaptations ever try to be. But honestly, the big negative here is the body swapping plotline, and its implications kind of astound me, mostly because they come off as just someone not thinking through the bad writing here. So before the movie actually gets going and they figure out what's going on, Diana picks up the Dreamstone that everyone's making wishes with and subconsciously wishes for her boyfriend to come back to life. Steve Trevor does, and Chris Pine ends up taking over the body of just some random dude. Everyone else sees that guy, but Diana and the audience just see Chris Pine. But they never go into any kind of detail as to what happens when you take over someone's life. The idea of the wish here is that, it's a give and take situation. You get what you want, but it costs something. So you would think that the cost would be, yes, you got your boyfriend back, but you essentially killed this other guy and stole his life. And that would have really worked from a narrative perspective, because Diana, the hero, the symbol of truth, couldn't accept the fact that her boyfriend died and couldn't move on with her life. She couldn't accept the truth. So having it this way, that she actually killed someone because she couldn't accept that truth, would have worked out really well. The movie never brings this up. Not once. At one point, they even make reference to it by saying they're going to get a flight to Cairo, but, oh wait, Steve Trevor doesn't have a passport. Did you check to see if the guy whose body he's in has one? Because that would have saved you a lot of trouble. They act like Steve Trevor is just here. Like, that's not what's happening. He stole a guy's body. Does this guy have kids? Does he have a wife? Because that might seem a little awkward when you start sleeping with this guy. That comes right up to the line of being raped, doesn't it? If not crossing it? Wonder Woman is supposed to be the good guy, isn't she? Now, if they had acknowledged that this was a mistake and that that's why she needed to revoke her wish, that's fine. But no, they say that her consequence is that she's losing all of her powers slowly but steadily because of this. She's being more affected by bullets. She's actually getting hurt. She barely survived her fight with Cheetah before she went all Cheetah on herself. So it's just like, is that the negative consequence? Because she's still trying to be a hero and do her job despite it. Because it doesn't really feel like a negative. It just... Was it her powers that she was supposed to be losing? Or is it that she was losing who she was because she was accepting a lie? That's kind of what the implication at the beginning was with the whole Amazon flashback trial thing where Diana cheats and they don't accept it. The big line from that being, nothing good is born from lies. It feels like there was some kind of narrative mix-up here and the writer didn't really think through what they were doing at the time. So to pretty much everyone who said this was an intentional thing and that it's some weird feminist conspiracy, go fuck yourself. That's not what this was. It was just someone who didn't think through the consequences of their writing. Because if it's not, then the whole implication of the first 11 minutes of this is pointless. It has nothing to do with anything other than to show the other Amazons, who I guess were just contracted to come back for this. But with all of that said, I know I've gone into a lot more detail than I do in most of these more modern age videos I make because this one just had a lot to discuss. I don't think this movie's bad. I feel that it has bad elements in it, and maybe if they've cut out maybe the cheetah stuff, or maybe just rewrote some of the stuff with Wonder Woman and Steve, this could have been a great movie. Unfortunately, it's just a okay to good movie, and that's its biggest sin. It could have been more, it could have been great, it just did not live up to its potential, and it doesn't help that it just got delayed so much. Everybody was hoping that this movie was going to be the big game changer. This was going to be the era of getting ourselves back to the big blockbusters. We're finally out of the quarantine and COVID stuff, and we can finally enjoy this stuff, if nothing else than on our small screens. And it wasn't there. Overall, with the good and the bad, I'll give this a rating of see it at a discounted theater price. I know that that's not the most glowing recommendation here, but I feel that it is worth seeing. And if you can see it on the small screen for your free trial or get a code for HBO Max from a friend who has to pay for it, I highly recommend it. But the $14.99 for that service or the $10 for a full price ticket, I don't feel is actually there. I'd say see it at a discounted theater price. It's worth seeing on the big screen if you get the opportunity, just don't pay full price. And that's it for me. Did you enjoy the video? Have you seen Wonder Woman 1984? Tell me what you thought about it in the comments down below. Let's get some healthy discussion going. And as always, if you like what you saw, sure to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz that helps my channel grow. I also stream every Thursday night here on this channel. I also stream over on my Twitch channel, though that one's a little bit more random and tends to be when I have extra time. And yeah, that's it for me. So see you guys next time, and happy 2021. Hopefully this year will be better.